Grace and peace from God, my people. I pray you're all doing well, spiritually, physically, and mentally. Just checking in with you. Quick little topic, quick little thing I wanted to talk to you about. And I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. We ain't got much time, so let's try to redeem it, for the days are evil. All right, so we got a lot going on in this society, in our world. And I had a fellow, I don't know if he was a believer or not, but he asked, what my thoughts were with how we can get through the tough times that, our society is going through. There's changes, now we've got the Roe versus Wade thing, everybody going crazy about abortion. You got kids shooting up kids. You got, we coming out of Pride Month, all that. I mean, it just seems like the wickedness is just flourishing. But we got to remember something, and this is why I think it's very important. I believe it's very important that we be in that word, because that's where we get that's our foundation. Our foundation is Christ, and Christ, Jesus, is the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And there is nothing that was made except that He made it. You know what I'm trying to say. So we need to understand that when all this stuff is happening around us, we can be secure in the promises of God, my people. And those promises we can take right to the bank and cash them every single time. He is a God who keeps His word. All right? So there's two things. It's not very difficult. It's not complex. There's two things we need to be doing, okay? One, we need to be in the Word. You can't know His promises unless you are in His Word, reading and studying and meditating upon His promises. And secondly, the gospel. The gospel. That's what saved me. That's what took me out of the world. So I got to speak about that. You can change the laws. We can all be excited about the reversal of Roe versus Wade. We can get excited about that, but where I come from, and pre-regeneration, pre-being born again, the laws didn't matter much. As far as if I needed to eat, it didn't matter whether I had a job or not, whether I had money inside that store or not. I was going to eat. If I wanted to get high, guess what was going to happen? If I wanted to do this or that, the law wasn't in my way. Just something you basically needed to step over in order to get to where you needed to go. Okay? It's just a little obstacle, just a couple right moves and you around the law. So we need to understand that that's the mind of the reprobate. That's the mind of the person who isn't saved. You can change laws that says, oh, this racism is illegal or this is illegal. People are going to go, we don't know who we are. We are very, how can I say this? We will go to certain extremes in order to get what we want. And all we got to do is look back at history. And that's our problem. We don't learn from history. We don't really see who we are because we think we're different. Oh, those were different times. There's a different decade, different, culture, different. They dressed different. They talked different. They didn't have phones and TV. But let me tell you something. The heart of man has always been desperately wicked. All right. And when we live in a society where it's clear that God has given us over to the things that we like, violence is our entertainment. So we can't be surprised when it starts happening in real life around us, okay? Because you want to be entertained by people who are robbing people, killing people, all kinds of violence and machismo and guns, and now the video games are just, they're crazy violent and they're trying to make them so realistic. That's our entertainment. That's what we're programming ourselves with. Okay, You can't be surprised when somebody walks into a school, when somebody walks into a grocery store and starts gunning people down. We're playing with things that we don't know nothing about, okay? Because our enemies have been around. They are ancient enemies, okay? Some of them have been in those gardens with Adam and Eve. Some of them have been in those places where God has set, okay? They have been around. I mean, listen to how Job, in the book of Job, how Satan talks about man. There's something very telling about what he says at one particular moment when they're talking about Job. He says this, and go back and read it. He says something like tit for tat or something. And then he says, all that a man has, he will give up for his life. They know us like a book. Our enemies are formidable. And we need to realize that. They're clever and they clothe themselves. They disguise themselves as angels of light. All right? Don't go looking for the, people ask me questions. How do you watch scary movies? Okay, I don't know how you do that. And I'm like, I don't know how you can just be so accepting of all this positive vibes and only think positive and just quick to embrace a smile or go through your day without preaching the gospel to someone, having a heart to say. That's where the horror is for me, because that's how they come. They come like that. You don't go looking for the person who is dressed in the red devil suit with the horns, okay? Sin has consequences. We will reap what we sow. If violence and nastiness and just repugnance is it's everywhere. Pornography is everywhere. Everywhere. If that's if it's just something that is has great real estate in our tapestry, that makes up our society. Okay. If it's something we are bathing ourselves in daily, whether it's on Netflix, okay, the computer, all right, video games, the music, I mean, what do you expect? I remember, some years ago, my young nephew, he's 12 years old. He's walking around chanting this song, suicide, suicide, some song by a rapper who's not even with us anymore. Somebody who was gunned down, XXX or something was his name. Suicide. He has a song called Suicide. My little 12-year-old, man, don't be singing that. Don't be chanting that over and over again. But that's where we are. And it's terrible. It's terrible. We are just so full of trash that it's going to come out in our reality and in very unfortunate ways. So we need to do this. We need to preach the gospel as often as we can and realize that even though it looks crazy out here, God is on the throne, but he's simply given us over to the filth that we love, and that's judgment. So if you are saved, if you are someone who happens to understand what Jesus did at that cross for us, sinners, enemies of God, and now have been made a child, an adopted child of God, rely upon his promises, preach the gospel like he tells you to, for it is the gospel that's the power unto salvation, and continue to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Get as far away from culture as you can. Get in that word. Read about God. Learn about God. Ask God to reveal himself to you and to continue to sanctify you, to give you wisdom, to give you discernment, to give you courage, to stand firm in a world that is showering us with lies and hate that looks like love. And the flip side to that is we're lovers who are out giving this truth, but to them, we're haters. Oh, I'm telling you, I've been called some names, my people. I've been called some ugly names in the face of me trying to show love, trying to redirect, trying to encourage you to go in another path, all right? I know the world is welcoming and says this is fine and this is all to the good. This is love, okay? But I'm here to tell you that God says love does not rejoice in iniquity, okay? So that can't be true love. All right. And it's just things like that that's our armor. We got to be stand covered in the full armor of God and taking those steps, putting, you got to put your neck out there sometimes to reach out and say, hey, do you know what God did to keep us from going to hell? All right. Are you saved? Are you cleansed in the blood of Christ? Are you there's these questions and there's conversations we have every day with people. I've talked, what, today? All right, what time is it? I don't know. But I've talked to about, not a lot, just 3 people, though. The dude who was working in my house, working on the, putting the bathroom toilet in and all that, the sink, and moving some cabinets over. We had a discussion about God. I went and talked to him. There's a young man at the register at Dollar Tree. I told him, asked him, if he knew about Jesus and what he did living in, you know what I'm saying? Just those quiet moments when they're bringing up stuff, just think, do they know? Have they heard? Those quiet moments when that person's working on something for you, working in your house. I don't know, whatever. Just I'm giving you situations from my life today. And then there was a lady who was like so bent over, like she could barely move, so I'm carrying my groceries out of the store. Her car's next to me, her trunk opens up. And I'm like, lady, can I help you put your groceries in the car? She's like, yeah. So then that gave me the opportunity to be like, are you saved? Are you a Christian? And she happened to be saved. She happened to be a Christian. She says she's a Christian. So, I'm always happy about that. I'm always happy to meet a fellow believer. But it's just having what you talk about be seasoned. Be compassionate towards a dying and a lost world, and things will be all right. We won't be able to save this world, okay? The road to destruction is wide, and there are many on it. There is coming a new heavens and a new earth. But with the people that God puts in your life and surrounds you on a daily basis, you have the opportunity to plant little seeds and make little changes, okay? And let your light shine, all right, before men, that darkness will flee, all right? So it's not rocket science. It's very simple. Wanting to please God, wanting to know God, and then wanting to love God as well as your neighbors as you love yourself, all right? Now, if you were headed for a cliff, and you didn't see it coming, wouldn't you want somebody to at least, hey, man, be careful, watch out, there's something coming, man? I used that expression before, or that illustration before, but, so may God's saving grace and peace be upon you. To the viewer, I hope I answered your question about, how to move through these times. I'm sweating like a Farmer John pig in a slaughterhouse. I need to get up out of this hot car, go about, finish doing my work. I love y'all. May God's saving grace and peace be upon you. And just remember that word is valuable. God is who we is God. We want God. All right. Heaven is going to be great, but we want God. All right. And when we have God, things start moving. Things start changing. He is on the throne. All right. Never forget that. He's on the throne. This is his story. He's telling it. We might hit some rocky, some hairy parts throughout the course of his story, but it's his story, okay? And we know what's coming. A new heavens and a new earth with no pain, none of this madness. And that's what we look forward to. In the meantime, we try to reach those so that they can be standing next to you. in that new heavens and that new earth, enjoying the glories of God throughout all eternity, my people. That's what we want. That's what we want. All right? Peace.